You're probably wondering where I've been all this time, and for very good reason. If you've been following me on Patreon, you're likely aware of the fact there's been some real life problems which have necessitated some time away, in addition to some minor issues with my editing software and my own personal motivation in order to get videos produced and released. That said, I very much appreciate and remain grateful of those who are currently supporting my efforts to document motor journalism related content, and I am in awe of the 25,000 subscribers I've presently accrued. What this mainly means is I can only really make videos during my free time, of which I have a lot more than I used to, but not enough to produce them on as regular a basis as I'd like. I felt this video was necessary to make as I'd like to alert you all to a few things that have transpired since March, the first of which is the rebrand. From this day forwards, as I'm sure you're already aware, the channel will become known as Gearknob, as it is a more catchy name, with my secondary channel picking up the name Gearknob Productions, as name and cohesive brand image are important things to have when developing your channel and making it grow. Alex TGRF, which in turn is a shortened version of a name I've had on the internet for more than a decade, just doesn't cut it. In regards to funding, there is one thing I want to make abundantly clear. At no point will I stoop to the level of sponsorship. As much as I would certainly appreciate the extra assistance, there's something about interrupting your video to plug a product that has zero relation to the content within that comes off as highly disingenuous to me. That the message or the content you are presenting isn't as important as producing a glorified commercial for a corporation that honestly doesn't think anything more of you than a name on a database. If it ever came to that point, I'd rather quit. There was supposed to be a video out today, however the amount of time I lost during the rendering process of two other videos, which I'll mention in a bit, meant these have been deferred to July. Please bear with me on this. From Sony Vegas crashing midway through its render not once but twice, costing me a day, to YouTube somehow requiring users who have already verified their main accounts to then re-verify their secondary accounts and only notifying me that the initial uploads were rejected due to this reason hours after the fact was also very tedious. Do not fret, there are videos coming this month across both my channels, which you'll find a link to in the description. The video which would have come out today would have been the first in a series of character biographies, namely one on Jason Dawe, as his career was considerably shorter than the other hosts and would serve as a suitable lead-in to the more major ones. As I'm sure you're already aware, there's a video that was supposed to come out as far back as late March as a sequel to my Lost Media video. The cold hard truth is that there is much more Top Gear Lost Media than I initially realised, and I need more time to adequately document it all and present it in a video, which may or may not be split into two parts. Over the past 4 months, I've received quite a lot of emails regarding Lost Media, and if I haven't replied to you, please send another message in case I haven't to make sure that I see it. I will be attaching a permanent business email in the description once I have the website's email address correctly set up, so it's not mixed in with the rest of my already cluttered inbox. The next video, which I was working on prior to the release of 2 other videos, was a Top Gear iceberg explanation, as I feel at this point it's something that's more or less required, given that no one else has yet stepped up to the plate. I've been working on this on and off since February and was tentatively aiming for an April 1st release before it got mothballed along with everything else. However, in the midst of all this, there has been some good news. After many delays, I finally got my second channel off the ground. Though they're not Top Gear related, I implore you all to give these videos a try, as there will be much more where that came from. If you liked my style of presentation and detailed analyses, then you will probably like these videos as well. There will be more frequent uploads from here on in, as I've finally found a workflow that works for me. Admittedly, 3 months later was far more than I initially bargained for, and I can't really be more contrite over the matter than I already have been. In addition to all these, I am also working on the revised version of my 2-part documentary from the beginning of the year, which, fingers crossed, will be broadcast live on the first episode of Top Gear's 20th anniversary. The main difference between this and the version preceding it is it will include a lot more in-depth focusing on the individual series and, more importantly, much more of an explanation into how the series changed as time progressed to accommodate a larger audience, from an informative show with the occasional entertaining skit to a show that was almost exclusively entertainment oriented with the incidental piece of useful consumer advice every once in a while. I had to cut a lot from the original 2 videos to make them fit within 80 minutes, but seeing how well the original videos were received, I intend to make the successor around 3 or so hours long so that I incorporate everything I wanted to say originally. Outside of videos, I also plan to do more work on the Top Gear Complete collection, if you're familiar with that, though last year's release was silently cancelled due to the BBC reissuing the entire series on iPlayer, which more or less did what I sought to achieve automatically. From a copyright perspective, I personally see nothing wrong with distributing episodes until the BBC makes a proper digital transfer of them. As for the 13 standard definition series in particular, the quality does not match what was originally broadcast, with the iPlayer rips in particular suffering from heavy compression during scenes of quick movement, and even the DVDs officially released by the BBC losing some quality, again for compression related reasons. There is also a lot of stuff which can no longer be found anywhere, such as deleted scenes from Series 11 through 13, which used to be hosted on the official Top Gear website prior to its revamp, but have never been released anywhere else and haven't resurfaced since. Ideally, my dream would be the BBC issuing all 22 series in a big Blu-ray box set, particularly the HD series, along with all the standalone episodes and home videos. I understand that there would probably need to be a handful of cuts made, such as the Ayrton Senna tribute from Series 15. Although with Liberty Media now in charge of F1, it might still appear and would be the best Top Gear release by a significant margin. If a hypothetical release also included either of the 2 pilot episodes and the Series 22 segments which never made it to air, I will never badmouth the company again. For me, there is absolutely no excuse how even in Top Gear's home territory, you cannot legally obtain the entire series in a physical, permanent form, and this needs to be rectified. Streaming's all fine and good until it gets taken off for another couple years, or a digger runs over the fibre optic cables on your street. I can even understand how series such as Robot Wars, for instance, were only ever released as a series of compilations for the most well-known robots, despite the series being an international success and helping to kickstart the turn of the millennium robot combat craze. But the fact of the matter is, and I do hope anyone with even the slightest connection to the BBC is listening here, Top Gear is one of the most beloved series of all time. As fans of it, we deserve to be able to watch the show in as original and uncut a form as possible without dependency on a streaming service which could take it down at any time. In regards to the wiki, I have decided I will also be opening up some form of approval-based registration, as I would like more people to use it and to move away from fandom-based architecture. The same applies to the blog, which I made one post back in March and have been meaning to make another for a long time. That's all for now. I hope you're still looking forward to new videos, even if they are taking longer to make than I initially predicted. And as I mentioned earlier, do take a look at the 2 videos on my sister channel in order to help it grow.